Hello and welcome to Darren's Villaging and More presents part 3 of 4, building a split rail fence for my evil pumpkin platform. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more. Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a quick recap as we are now on part 3 of 4 of my 4-part series. I had originally purchased the lighted evil pumpkin for my village and he didn't work in my village theming this year, so I decided to create my own platform for him using spare parts. On the previous 2 videos, we have created a base platform and also reimagined the lighted evil pumpkin for 2025, leaving us with this platform that you see here. I did add on an extra pumpkin that I had from a previous Department 56 video, as it was just a spare part I had in my workshop. So today, let's add some architectural detail and do a split rail fence for my platform. Before we get started, I just want to go over a quick list of items needed for this project. You will need 1/4x1/4 balsa wood, 3 foot, a cutting tool or hacksaw, a Dremel with a burr bit, ruler and pen, X-Acto knife or a knife for carving. Welcome back to the bench. As you can see, I have a ruler here. This is actually a small level that I use, and I have my 1/4x1/4 balsa wood that I'll be using for my split rail fence. So what I'm going to be doing is making 4-inch rails to begin with, and I'm just going to mark these off at 4, 8, and of course 12 at the end. I would need a total of 6 of these for my split rail fence. Now, the rails are the first part. The second part is actually going to be creating the fence post. Now, those will be using a 2-inch measurement in order to create the post. So all you can see is I'm just sliding it down, marking those 2-inch sections off now. I'll do about 4 of those, and that will leave me with an extra 4 inches of balsa wood out of this 3-foot section. So should I make a mistake, I have something that I can use to recover with. Now that I've made all of my marks, I'm going to be using a hacksaw to go through and cut these pieces of balsa wood to length. Now, using a hacksaw isn't exactly necessary. This is balsa wood. You could technically use a steak knife to cut through this. It is so incredibly soft. That being said, for split rail fencing, this does work if you're making a straight line of fencing. It works very, very well. However, if you need a fence post that is a corner post, I do not recommend using the balsa wood. I would recommend using base wood instead. The balsa wood is just too fragile, and I have broken many corner posts trying to use it. As I'm cutting these, I am not trying to do perfect cuts by any means, and the reason being is I'm doing a split rail fence. I want a little bit of rustic and worn look to it, so if the tops are a little rough and jagged, perfect. It's exactly what I'm going for. As I make these last 2 cuts, you'll see I have an additional 4 inches of balsa wood left. This will give me the opportunity to either fix a broken fence post, should I break one, or fence rail. So now that I've got everything cut, I'm just going to wipe everything away and start setting these aside. Now that everything has been set aside, the next step in this process is going to be taking the fence post and marking where the rails are going to connect. So I'm going to use a paint pen and draw 2 lines. These will be the generalized positions of where the rails will slide into the fence post after I use a Dremel with a burr bit to hollow out these fence posts. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to fabricating the fence post. Welcome to my garage workbench where we'll be fabricating these fence posts today. I'm going to be using a Dremel with a burr bit on high speed. So previously I had marked all the fence posts with 2 black lines as a generalized location of where the rails will slide in. So with the Dremel on high speed, I will start doing a back and forth motion to hollow out the fence post itself. Now I'll do this for all of them and go back, and then I'm going to flip them over and go from the other side. Hollowing out balsa wood, it has a very big tendency to twist a little, so the hole isn't lined up center and it'll be a little off-sided, which is perfectly fine for a split rail fence because the rails themselves are not going to be a perfectly symmetrical thing anyway. I'm going to get these knocked out real fast. Enjoy my process. that the fence posts have been fabricated, let's go ahead and fabricate the fence rails. Today I'm using a number 10 blade on an X-Acto knife, and I'm going to be carving the rails. So as you can see, I have gone and I've cut this one end of this one rail down to a point. And this is the point that will slide into the fence post. Flip it over and do the exact same thing. I'll rinse and repeat this process on all of them before I start actually carving the fence rails themselves. As a split rail fence, I want more character and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. So as you see, I am just lightly flicking the balsa wood to roughen it up and give it texture. And I'll go through and kind of take away every sharp edge of the balsa wood. This does make a bit of a mess, so be prepared. You can have vacuum standing by or do this outside, but it's not too bad. So after everything is done with this, the next step is going to be moving on and dry fitting the pieces together. I want to ensure that all the pieces fit, so if I need to make any modifications or do any additional carvings, I can go ahead and do that before assembly. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these rails carved out. Please let me know if there's anything you would have done differently in the comments below. Alright, now that we have everything fabricated, we can do dry fitting. The purpose of the dry fitting is to ensure that everything will fit together and hold together. Making a split rail fence by hand, there are no exact measurements for the ends of the rails or the fence post holes. So we're going to put these together and see what works and what doesn't work. Anything that needs to be trimmed down can be trimmed down. Any hole that needs to be dremeled in a fence post, I can go back out to my garage bench and dribble it out a little bit more. So this is practice and patience exercise, to be perfectly honest. I'll go through and I'll pick off things that I don't like, marker from the original cutting point that I want to remove. So this piece is a prime example. I'm going to try to put that in there and oh, it's just too thick. So I'll need to shave that down with my X-Acto knife and carry on. So I'll go ahead and finish all of the dry fitting so we can move on to assembly. Now that the dry fitting is done, we can see that the fence is holding together for the most part. So now what I'm going to be doing is using a low temp hot glue. I am a big fan of Michael's low temp hot glue, and I'll be placing some glue in each of the fenced post holes. I'll then take the rail and slide it in and hold it in place for a moment just to ensure that it's nice and tacked in place. Then I'll go ahead and move on to the next. Now in this instance I don't think I used enough glue, so we're going to add a little bit more glue in there and try again. Now it is important to know when gluing this together there is going to be significant play in the fence, and that is by design. Most platforms that I make don't have straight lines, so I want to have a little curvature or fun with this. And it also gives it a bit of a whimsy feel to it when it's finally done. Now that all the glue is in place, I'm going to allow it to dry for a moment. I'm going to grab a pair of tweezers. I'm going to be picking off any of the glue strings that, hot glue is notorious for, just to clean up my surface on the fence. It only takes a minute or two. I've got this handy dandy pair of tweezers with a light on, which really does help. So now that I'm happy with it, I'm going to actually take this over to the platform and fit it. Now, as you see, I have a straight fence, but I have a curvature to my platform. So let's start bending. Now, unfortunately, I've got one side that's a little too tight, and I do not have any basewood with me, so I would normally have taken this second fence post and done a 90 degree. However, this time around, I'm just going to be bending it and letting this work for the platform, as this is going to be the back corner of the platform. No one's going to see my imperfection. Now that I know how the fence will sit on the platform, I'm going to be staining the fence using some Minwax Gunstock stain. Just using a simple brush, I believe it's actually a watercolor brush for this process. Now, one of the wonderful things about balsa wood and using wood stain, it absorbs it very well. This will actually go into the wood and around at certain edges, especially where the glue is, and you won't see the glue. So I'm just going to start brushing it on, and you can already see the transformation that this is going to have. I'll give a nice rustic look for my lighted evil pumpkin in his scarecrow pose that I'm very excited to complete. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some staining. Now that the split rail fence has had time to dry, I'm going to put it onto the platform. So going back to the original position that I had tested the fence in, I'm going to be taking an X-Acto knife with a spade blade. I will go to each fence post and carve a square hole directly into the foam. It takes a few moments to go around and do each one. But once it's done, I'll simply pull a bit of the foam out of each hole, but not all of it, and then press the fence down in. This will hold the fence in place without any additional glue or support. Alright, here we are. I have moved our platform over to a little test area of mine, and as you can see, the split rail fence shows up great. I've also added an additional Lemax spooky tree with Chinese lanterns. That is for a future project for reimagining those Chinese lanterns. Looking forward to that as well. So, tell me in the comments, what did you think of the split rail fence? What would you have done differently? Would you have done a different color? Maybe some type of different fence altogether? Thank you for watching Darren's Villaging and More presents part 3 of 4, adding a split rail fence to my Halloween platform for my evil lighted pumpkin. Part 4 of 4 will be adding vegetation to my platform. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe for more content.